Welcome back to Lucha Review. Welcome back to the 30 years of summer. Tonight in our main event, we're going to be wrestling one of the biggest Hollywood movie budgets of all time. Starring one of the biggest Hollywood stars of all time. Arnold Schwarzenegger. When we watch Total Recall tonight and when you step into that ring with Mount Mascaras, I can guarantee you will have no problem remembering or recalling the beating that I plan on giving you. Tag yourselves in and let's take on the nerdy and dirty. And whatever your name is, get ready for the big surprise.
See Arnold Schwarzenegger as you've never seen him before. That was the tone of the marketing for Total Recall, a film in which Arnold Schwarzenegger, fresh off the success of Predator and The Running Man, chose to dive even deeper into the world of science fiction. Total Recall required one of the biggest movie budgets for that time period, and this is what it gave us. Our story begins with Douglas Quaid having nightmares of dying on Mars. The character's name alone was an indicator that this film was going to be way different, seeing as how, at that time, the names of action protagonists were limited to Mike or anything that started with a J. Anyhow, Quaid awakes from his nightmare, and when his wife encourages him to stop thinking about Mars entirely, he responds with, "No, I got a better idea, let's go there." The wife ain't having it, but Quaid can't stop thinking about it, and while on the way to work, he sees an ad for Recall, where broke motherfuckers can buy implants of synthetic memories of vacations they can't afford. Quaid, curious, asks a co-worker about it, and the guy cuts a fucking promo on how dangerous Recall is, so naturally, Quaid has to visit them as soon as his shift is over. After a brief meeting with a sleazy salesman, Quaid buys a vacation in which he's a secret agent on a dangerous mission. What the fuck kind of vacation is that? As expected, things go wrong, and as it turns out, Quaid already was a secret agent on a dangerous mission, and the recall procedure wound up unlocking memories that were previously wiped from his mind. Suddenly, Quaid's life becomes the Truman Show as he quickly learns that all two of the people he knows, his co-worker and his wife, are spies who've been watching him for years, and when they fail to neutralize him, a gang of thugs is called to finish him off. We wouldn't have a movie if they succeeded, so moving on, the story gets weirder when Quaid gets a phone call with instructions on how to evade his attackers, and is directed to a briefcase that holds the answers to his many questions. In short, and as you might have guessed, Quaid has to go to Mars to get to the bottom of all of this, and he does so by disguising himself as a woman who has a meltdown in response to a yes or no question. Once on Mars, he meets Benny the cab driver, who has 5 kids to feed, and I know this because he says it in every single scene he's in. Obviously, he's comic relief, but I wasn't laughing. I might have if Richard Pryor or maybe even Sinbad played the role, but this $60 million budget clearly could not stretch any farther, which was made evident by the leftover dynamo cars from The Running Man, the C-list actors that appeared frequently from Tales from the Crypt episodes, the product placement, and this bargain basement cross between the Star Wars Cantina and the diner from Saved by the Bell. Oh yeah, and the motherfucker who built the Ed 209 is here too. At the bar, Quaid meets up with the mysterious woman that appears in his Mars nightmares, named Melina. Nope, not that one. The one that Recall attempted to implant into his brain.
Melina, let me tell you something.
What?
Who is your daddy, and what does she do? But wait, if her memory was already deep in his psyche, was it coincidence that she was a template for the Recall program, or was this just lazy creative? At this point, I stopped giving a shit, and to be honest, I really don't want to talk about this movie anymore. The puppetry and makeup were phenomenal for 1990, but everything else about it belongs on Cinemax at 3 a.m. 30 years after first seeing Total Recall, it's still totally forgettable, and totally a fucking jobber. In 1990, Star Wars was still the be-all, end-all of all science fiction, which was a child-friendly genre at that time, and anything less typically went straight to VHS. Total Recall failed in changing this, as the plot had more twists than a bag of red vines, making it too hard for children to follow, all while being too goofy for adults to care about. Arnold and his one-liners and dad jokes just weren't a good fit for this movie, and a woman with 3 tits is not going to change that. Well, Arnold didn't do too well in tonight's main event, but overall, I think he did okay. It was only a year later in which Terminator 2 dominated the box office, clearing out the stench that was Total Recall. This has been Lucha Review, and thank you for watching.